out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, Ryan.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 53 of Dismembering Horror, the podcast show where myself, Ryan McDuffie,
And myself, Tim Aslin.
we dismember a horror film every week, every Thursday, in fact. And what does it mean to dismember a horror film? Well, first we watch it. We got to know what we're talking about here. Then we talk about what worked for us, what did not work for us, and then we wrap it up with things of note, where we talk about stuff that didn't quite fit into either good or bad, as we see it. Because this is we take a very subjective approach to this all. We're no authority. We're just two dudes talking horror movies, hoping that our enthusiasm and interest spurs your own opinionating, whether you agree with us or not. And if you don't agree with us, you should let us know and send us a recording of you disagreeing with us so we can play it, read it.
I would love that.
I know. We need a first one of those. Come on, episode 53, people. Let's do it.
Oh my God, 53.
I know.
What an insignificant number.
You mean that?
I mean, it's significant to us, but like, it doesn't mean anything.
Oh, 53 specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just past 50 at this point, so
Right.
it's all
downhill.
No, it'll all feel significant for a while until we
Yeah.
get closer to 100, and then that will be the new demarcation of significance. And this week, we watched the 2014 film Starry Eyes, which I have fun with, Tim, anytime it's a like an LA set film.
Definitely.
The Dismembering Horror offices are here in Hollywood, California. So it's fun and Tim and I are in the biz, so to speak. So I don't know. It's always fun to see this vantage point portrayed from this vantage point.
It's like watching our own backstory happen in front of us.
Specifically this film.
A little bit.
Yeah, you have
Like the first 5 years of my life in LA.
Right.
Was like this movie.
Tim has the acting experience I don't you've gone to these kinds of auditions and
Oh yeah. I've probably been in that room that they filmed the audition in.
well, we'll get
I
to
certainly recognize the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I wonder if that was the actual interior.
Yeah, I'm not certain.
Because the actual building does have some significance, I'll tell
Ooh,
you.
cool.
And things of note. So stick
Great.
around, folks, if you want to learn about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else to catch up on or say before we get into it? We're coming off Demon House last week. We had a good discussion about what the heck does it mean when you say ghost?
You know what's funny is after Demon House, I was a little put off by my best friend, Zach Bagans. And then I just started watching more episodes of Ghost Adventures anyway.
It took on a new layer of appeal for you.
It's like I just can't stop.
Well, until they run out of episodes, which may never happen at this rate.
God, right? God damn.
I mean, he's got to run out of haunted places.
No, impossible. All they'll do is they'll just be like Ghost Adventures International.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which I think they've gone overseas a couple times.
Right.
I think I remember an episode in Italy at one point, and I think they did somewhere in the UK, either Scotland or Old Castle
Now
type
we're
shit.
going
I'm sure they've done that.
International. And I look forward to visiting his museum with you.
Oh my
someday
God.
in Vegas.
I can't wait.
Okay, well, that's that. Now I say we get into this week's film. How about that?
Yes,
All right.
please.
Here is at least the partial trailer for Starry Eyes.
Welcome to Big Taters. My name is Sarah. Can I start you guys off with an order of our Freedom Tots?
We got all these people, all our friends. They're just sitting around trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out how to make something.
I thought you were avoiding me.
Why would you think that?
Because I stole your role.
What's going on with you lately?
I work so hard. Every week it's a new class, a new audition. Hopefully you'll see something in me. I know I'd be great for this.
We'll be in touch. And Sarah, this will be different. Sarah, relax yourself.
Sarah, if you can't fully let yourself go, how can you ever transform into something?
Pretty high praise in some of those quotes there, huh?
I'm like, yeah, maybe a little hyperbolic.
I mean, that's how they felt at the time. You wonder if that's when it's seen at a film festival. We're already kind of getting to our review of it, our rating, but you know, when this is like best movie ever.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask my friends to say those things and put them in quotations too.
Yeah. But these people...
That's such a dick thing to say, but...
Well, I guess since we're already talking about what we thought about it, should we talk about what we thought about it and give it a rating?
Yeah.
Perfect. See how that works out. I'll start.
Okay.
Unless you really want to.
No.
Because
you go right ahead.
You go first a lot.
You just do your thing, Ryan. You and your purple shirt.
I give it a stream it. I think it had a lot of redeeming qualities, but in the end, it didn't fully deliver for me on the premise.
Yeah.
I loved the story and setting and characters, but did not fully take advantage of them as I see it.
Yeah, I basically agree with all of that, but for some reason, I just want to buy this. And I think it's like I don't know even how to describe it. It's got like 4 or 5 different things going on that just like tickle me. Number 1, I love the lead actress. Yeah. Number 2, that sort of, like we were saying, the kind of nostalgia of like that world of the actor, the desperate actor, all of that shit. It's like a train wreck that I can't look away from. Yeah.
This is we have the vantage point of being post/during Me Too movement.
Yeah.
When this film came out in 2014.
Yep. And there's like, I love Pat Healy.
Yeah.
The actor. I don't know. There's something just so fucking charming about it, despite its shortcomings, that I don't know how to classify this. If I saw this, like a DVD or Blu-ray of this for like $3.99, I would 1,000% buy it right away.
It sounds like this is
and
kind
so
of
it's
like
essentially a rent. Yeah. But I want to own it.
This is like your equivalent of how the Ju-ons are for me or something. How you're talking about it. Like, you're like, I just love all the stuff. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. There are a lot of things I love about the movie that don't necessarily add up to a great movie.
Yeah.
But like each of the individual things I'm like super into.
Right. I think those individual things were a bit too disparate or didn't quite coalesce. Or felt like different directions.
I kind of agree with that too. Yeah, but even so, it's almost like I can see the movie that they were shooting for.
Yeah, yeah. That's fun. I feel like I'm usually the one who takes this opinion on films.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you know what? But I don't care. I just like it.
Yeah.
You rarely do that.
I rarely feel that way.
Cool.
But this one, fuck, dude.
That's like a lot of it is that's the setting, like we talked about and all that for you. Yeah. That is what I loved about it. Cool.
Yeah.
And some good body horror, which we'll get into.
My fave.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep it going. Let's get into our summary.
Okay. All right. Ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Sarah Walker.
Boom.
Is an actress in Hollywood desperately trying to make it and believing that she has the talent, but the circumstances and the life around her are keeping her down and back. And
I'd say emphasis on desperately believing. She's like, because
exactly.
she, I think she has the stuff, but she does not have the confidence, I'd say. she sort of has
That's right.
she sort of
Yeah.
has what she feels like is a faux confidence almost.
And that comes out
Like she's like, this is what confidence looks like, I think.
Yeah,
So
like
this
her
is how I'm
her
acting.
sort of quote unquote what would you call it, like a neuroses or a pathology that she has of like punishing herself when she thinks she hasn't done a good enough job, and she like yanks on her hair and rips out some of her hair, which is a very, self-flagellating, flagellating, not flatulating, sort of, it's what's the word for that? Masochistic sort of thing, self-harm stuff. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that all kind of supports that idea that she
and so she's got
is punishing herself. She can't live up to.
So she goes. She's like at her wit's end with her job that she hates at Big Taters,
Right.
like a Hooters ripoff.
Yep.
And then she lands what she thinks is an exciting audition that she's pretty stoked about for a horror film called what?
The lead in a horror film called The Silver Scream.
Yeah. And so she goes to that. Things the auditioners, the producer, the casting director, they look like they're out of I don't know what kind of movie, but some kind of movie.
Yeah. What are they out of? They're weird.
For me, they looked like they were okay. I'll get into these comparisons later, but like the sort of satiricalness in like Society and or David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Even though those are very, very different, they are both extremes.
Yep.
But felt kind of like at least, yeah. She's meeting characters plucked from that world.
They feel alien.
Yeah,
for sure. Like they're not real people.
Meanwhile, so then as the audition's going bad, they're taking advantage. They're like pulling the whole casting couch thing on her essentially, which is the escalation from like them getting to have pull her hair out in front of them. Some weird, what do you call it? The part that almost gave you a seizure.
Oh my God, the strobe light shit?
Yeah. She starts to go through some kind of transformation or getting in touch with her wild, crazy side. And
yeah, she lets go of all of the sort of the things that her inhibitions. No, her inhibitions. Yeah. She lets the walls down around the thing that make actors bad actors, which is like being in your head and overthinking it and not just existing and all of those things. And she finally is able to like let all of that go, which is a nice metaphor for the end.
The casting people keep pushing her along.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, well, you don't want the pot then.
Right.
And then meanwhile, she's got this group of friends who like a bunch of them live together and like they're always hanging out. Or
that's like I don't know why you think that's strange. That is like most of the douches in Hollywood.
It's not strange, but it was just funny how it sort of the film delivered in a way where it just felt like that was just always a given, and it felt kind of almost like it was
communal thing.
Like it was Friends, but real life.
Yeah.
And she has this sort of like push-pull relationship with a lot of them where it's like they go from supporting each other one minute to not the next, inspiring each other the not, and then she's not thinking.
And she's kind of the outsider of that. Like she's not really friends with any of them. They're friends of her roommates, and then she's sort of by proxy around them, and they're equal parts accepting of her and not.
And we hope that you watch this film. That's kind of the spirit of the show. We speak as though you've seen it, but we do this summary so you can plug into what the heck we made of it, or if you do want to listen to it.
Well, and I think
without seeing it.
To boil the movie down a little bit more into just the essence of what it is she auditions for a film that is very likely just a casting couch scam.
Yeah,
that's the vibe that everybody sort of has about this production company.
But yet, no, at the same time, I thought the recurring thing was like, oh, that's a legit thing. They haven't made a movie for a while.
It's legit insofar as it's been around for a long time, but they make shit films.
Yeah.
So there's always this mystique of that kind of thing in Hollywood.
Astraeus Pictures.
Right. And so the crux is she gets to a point where she can either, have sex with the producer to get the role, which likely is bullshit, which generally is the case in real life, or or go back to her shitty life.
Yeah.
And she kind of chooses both. She first chooses to go back to her shitty life, and then that double bumps her back up into going through with it. And so she goes through with it with severe consequences.
Yeah. Very severe. Well, it's a horror movie.
Right.
That's what we're doing here, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that's enough summary, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Should we get into our first section?
Let's.
What worked?
What worked? What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm. Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
So, well, it sounds like we're on the same page with, like, setting, characters, themes, all that stuff.
Definitely.
Like,
Acting
Yeah.
of the lead.
yeah.
Everybody else I thought was fine.
Yes.
Nobody was like atrocious or sort of cringeworthy,
No.
except maybe the male casting director who was just a little too
Well, I don't know.
unreal.
Not
of
to
a
get
thing.
ahead to what
Oh, yeah,
did not
right,
work
sorry.
too much, but I'd say I think the acting was good all around. And if there were any kind of awkward moments, not as far as cringe, that was more on the script versus,
Yes.
or you could say editing in this case
Yeah.
too, not
Yeah,
cutting
maybe.
it out.
Yeah, there's something
all good.
super compelling about the lead actress whose name in real life is Alexandra. I don't know how you pronounce this. Essoe? Essoe?
Well, she's
Essoe?
it's her plus. I mean, she's cast so well. She really feels like this kind of
It's
person.
freaky to me. I think I'm always impressed when the role is to be bad at something, and then but you as an actor are actually really good at acting because you are able to both be good at one point. How do you even describe it? You're acting like you're an actor who's acting well and acting badly at different points in the movie. And there's something really amazing to me when that is pulled off.
Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet?
Not yet.
You should.
I will. Maybe tomorrow.
Good.
So there's another, Mulholland Drive does this, where the audition that Naomi Watts' character has in the beginning, it starts off with seeming like just horrible, melodramatic acting. And then she does this shift and it's mind-blowing
Well, yeah,
acting.
we feel it as well. We as the audience, as well as the people in the room in the movie, feel it.
Yeah, and there's something about that thing. Maybe it's because in real life I've seen it happen where with the right direction in an acting class, and
Right.
I've had some really good acting teachers who are just really good at being it doesn't matter if you have talent. I can kind of just push you along in the right direction. And if you're open to it in this acting class, we'll get a good performance out of you.
Right. But this was almost kind of like a, not ice, but like a zoomed in, pointed, hyper version of that, where it's just all put to this moment of having her freak out to get to that.
They do a really cool thing too. They have her, when we first meet her, we see her in an acting class being a really bad actor and having an obnoxious acting coach. So that sets us up to be ooh, she's rough around the edges. She's not good.
But she's kind of aware of that stress. That's done well.
Right. Then she has a dream about the audition, and that in the dream she's acting badly because remember the words are disappearing on her side.
That was really good.
That's fucking awesome because that actually is what it feels like.
It was
at
she was
times.
holding a page where just words were missing, and then it was highlighting nothing.
Yeah, eventually it just progresses to that. It's so good.
Yeah.
And so now we've been twice sort of reaffirmed that she's pretty, we've seen her be bad. And then we get to see the first actual audition, and she's quite good. She's pretty in it, and she delivers a good, what I would consider just a straight up good audition. And their reaction is to kind of just be okay, thanks, next. And that is what sets her off, where she's like, then she shows, there's like a rule, like, do not talk back in the audition. You know what I mean? Don't ask to do it again. You know, just let them dictate what's going on.
I know. You should know that at this point.
Like, that is fucking just kryptonite if you go into a room and you're like, you show your desperation.
I feel like that's the one real moment where it's like, that's how people who aren't actually in the world think of auditions. Like, you have to have that moment. Are you sure I can do it again?
Yeah. Do you have any notes for me? No. If they did, they would say, can you try it this way? That's how auditioning works.
This is sounding like what didn't work for you, Tim.
No. This is what works for me. The fact that this is what they're depicting is perfectly spot on, because then when she gets called back in after having her fit in the bathroom, and we've seen her definitely be bad twice. One was real, one was not. And then a third time we were like, she's fine. She's a fine actress. And that goes badly. The next time she's brought back into the room after her fit in the bathroom, and they say, can you do it again? And she's hesitant at first. She starts pulling her hair, but she doesn't really have the sort of about it. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, okay, I guess you didn't really want it. And then she dives in, and then she falls on the floor, and then she has like a fucking seizure on the floor and is like roaring and growling, and like veins in her neck are popping out. And she's like, she's arching her back and fucking looks crazy. I'm like, that. Now two things are happening. One, we're convinced as an audience that she's a good actress, but we also know in real life, the actor, the actual actor, not Sarah Walker, Alexandra, is also a good actress, because she just gave us that performance of her having a fucking real flip out.
Yeah.
And so all that weird layering of that type of thing for me is just really pleasing.
Yeah.
It just makes you go, oh shit, right, there's this like crazy sort of, it's like the mirror, it's like a infinity mirror thing kind of happening, where you're like, she's an actor doing a good job acting, but she's also in real life an actor doing a good job acting about an actor doing a good job acting.
I loved all that, but didn't realize it until he said it just now, because I think like what I then relate to, what's sort of same but different, is like her friends and friend group, of where it is more just on the side of the more generic, like, oh, we're all working on our stuff, we want to make films. Like, I just related so hard to those people, and like where I had my cotter of filmmaking friends in our mid-20s, and we're just kind of working on our projects together, making it happen, encouraging each other, and then to see people acting that,
yes,
which these are probably the people who,
it's such a good
they're
depiction.
Actually those people too,
right. Like, there's something just fun about all of that to me. Mm-hmm. I think obviously because we've had those experiences, that it's like we have our window into that stuff. But the what was I going to say about that? Oh, so the next sort of step in what I think is cool about the acting aspect of her character is the friend group doesn't know whether or not she's good as an actor. They're all kind of just taking it for face value, like everybody else in Hollywood. Where they're like, oh, the thing you hear the most, and it's like, it's basically a 4-letter word to a lot of people, is like, when you say you're an actor, there's this, oh, you're an actor. And it's always this like, yeah, so is fucking everybody says they're an actor. But who actually is good, A, and B, is being successful at it. And there's this like gross undertone of like, of judgment, I guess.
Yeah.
And they show that really well with the other girl. Like, her whole character is just saying and doing all of those things, like openly judging and like shaming the lead, Sarah. Everybody else is pretty cool and supportive.
Yeah.
But that one girl is just horrible. And then that one other dude, who I don't know the name of, is just the biggest loser douche hanger-on or like creep ball.
See, a good variety.
Yeah. But all of the characterization, they're great magnifications of a thing that is very much a real thing in Hollywood forever.
Including the side of the spectrum of her boss, Pat Healy, who is your favorite.
Oh my God, he's so fucking good.
Which, like, you're like, I don't know, he's in a bunch of stuff. And I, like, looked at his list. I'm like, oh, yeah, he was in these 20 things, all of which I haven't seen.
I've seen probably 8 or 9 things with him in it that everyone, I'm just like, yes.
Well, if this is what worked, can you pinpoint the appeal of Pat Healy for you, Tim?
Yeah, he's super good at being oh my God, what do you call his type? Shit.
That's why, I mean, yeah,
he's an endearing dickhead.
Yeah.
And creep, but he's endearing. I don't know what it is about him.
He's got a lot of conviction in what he believes.
Yes, very much so. He thinks what he's saying is legit, even though we objectively are like, dickhead.
Like,
no,
I think that was honestly, this sounds strange, but I think one of my favorite parts in the whole movie, if not my actual favorite part, you know what I'm going to say?
Big Taters?
Yeah, is that Big Taters when he gives that speech to her of like, I know you think this is all stupid, but it's me. I made this. Yeah. I came up with the what you say when the people come in and leave the restaurant. Like, you know, I was just looking at it as another selling your soul to a corporate job kind of thing, like an actual Hooters. But no, he sells that. He made this place.
It's the same syndrome.
It's me.
Of that actors feel all the time.
Yeah.
He's actually expressing the same generic syndrome of like, you don't appreciate how much I put into this.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really
not
to show
even
for
what
it.
He put into it, but how it is,
like how important it is
how
to
it
him.
Is a represent. Yes,
yeah.
It's him as he put it.
Yeah, and actors, that literally is true.
Yeah,
you are the brand, you are the commodity, and that's a very strange place to live because it's not. You can't just play a scale on a piano or play a piece and be like, "See, I'm really good at playing this piece on the piano," or whatever the thing is. You don't have a tangible thing to present. It's literally you are presenting yourself. And that's a very strange thing to try and live in.
I thought all that was really interesting, her back and forth with you know, her job, how she quits and then asks for it back.
Yeah.
And then her comparing, you know, selling her soul by doing the casting couch thing till like she gets to saying, is that any different from selling her soul to him in a certain way? Or I keep forgetting, what's the restaurant called?
Big Taters.
Big Taters. Duh. I thought that was all interesting.
Yeah, I just like the base sort of fundamental setup is just reinforcing this thing over and over again. Of, you know, you are what you're selling, and the importance of that, and your quote unquote dream, like what you're willing to do to attain that dream. And Pat Healy's dream is to have a Big Taters.
Yeah.
Right? And he's got it. And people are constantly, just like when you say I'm an actor, they're constantly judging his thing that he values so much. He's like, yeah, I know it's corny and whatever, but it's mine. Like I made this thing.
I mean, I think it's
Stop
a good
judging
idea
it.
as far as tater tots over French fries. Like tater tots are so good.
You know what I think is so funny too is in the scene when she and him have the tug of war and she actually gets fired.
Oh yeah,
it's a bag of French fries and not tater tots.
Oh yeah, huh.
I was like, wait. But also, I think it's just
drooling on
taters is just a short for potatoes. So
Yeah,
maybe they sell all sorts of kinds of potatoes. French fries, tater tots.
Better be tater tots. Focus on tater tots. Since that was okay, I want to talk about the boss. Okay, well, just to wrap up really quick, talking about the characters in it. I mentioned it briefly, but her interactions with her friends. You know, I really liked each one of those, and again, their relationships. I found it relatable, of course, but I mentioned this, but just to say it again, they're all kind of wavering trust with one another. Like it sort of played well on this kind of, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I experience this in some regard, but I like to think I'm only more supportive of all one another. But there's this weird underlying thing that they play on well in a horror movie sense of like, but is this a competition too? Like she got the part and I didn't.
Right.
It's like, oh no, I'm so happy for you. Like just kind of, and not knowing if that's being honest. All that was good stuff.
When I first moved here, a handful of other people I knew within the first year or so that I moved here also moved out here. So other people were kind of arriving at various times. A couple people had been here for a little bit before me. So there was this period of 2 or so years where there was a flux of ins and outs. And one of the things that kept coming up with a lot of people that I knew, or even people I met, where they were like, every fucking buddy has like some weird agenda. Like, you can't trust anybody. They all are trying to fucking climb a thing, and they're always asking kind of like who you know and what you're up to, and there's always this undercurrent of like agenda. Like they're not actually, and this is I think what the stereotype of people in LA being the other version of like people being fake, not the like plastic fake version, but the like actually being genuine people. Yeah. Fake thing, like they're fake to your face.
Which is so funny because like you say those same words differently, and I think the positive attitude I like to think I have is more you say rather than we're all trying to climb up and stuff. You go, no, we're all trying to climb up. We're all trying to, we can support each other.
But that's my point in this flux thing that I was seeing. Those people were all like just, they're focusing so much on like a negative framing of that thing that they worked themselves right out. None of them are still around. They didn't stay here and pursue. They all like showed up, got freaked out, and left within a couple years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is an attitude. Like you can, yes, is that true? Sure. But you could just fucking disregard those people and go do the things you want to do. Mm-hmm. You know, but we're actors, I think in particular, are fucking sensitive, and rightly so. That's part of the job. But they're so susceptible to the insecurities that come along with, am I being validated? Am I being respected? Am I being appreciated? Or am I being taken advantage of? And that those things are all in this movie, and it's quite well constructed. So
okay, I feel like still the tip of the iceberg of this film, because just, and again, the saying broad setting, characters, theme,
Yeah.
Talk about the characters now, the relationships, blah, 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 what all that fun stuff was. But the whole other side I loved for it too was just the Hollywood elite cult stuff.
Right.
Like that is what, you know, I came for that, but stayed for the other stuff we just talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it reminded me even of like the Black Cat.
Yeah.
Where I was sort of like, oh shit, we're sort of seeing this trope. That fucking Satan, like, you know, what do you call that? Harem sort of like Satan worshiper, like elitist old people in robes.
It's
you
just
know?
one of my favorite
It's been
things,
around,
you know?
fucking since Black Cat, if not before that. It's such a like iconic thing.
Well, it's funny because
Hollywood.
It feels like there's either I should have seen this movie before, or there should be more of them out there, because it all felt common, but at the same time I can't point to any. It felt like, oh, well, no, here's this movie finally, you know.
Yeah.
So I loved any time they were well, I mean, all that stuff. When they go to when she goes to the house,
right.
And the late night auditions,
yeah,
all that,
yeah. Be at this address in an hour,
and
it's
then
like, and it's like Canyon Drive, you know. It's like just any canyon,
right? I wanted to see, as a person who gets around LA on public transportation a lot, how she got from the metro up to the hills.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't have a car.
Yeah, a lift.
Did they exist in 14? Oh yeah, I guess they did.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, all that. It's fun.
Yes, exactly. It's fun.
The Satanist angle was,
it was turned out to be a demon specifically, because they say.
Okay, yeah, I was a little lost on that.
They say Astraeus is which is the name of the production company.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to figure out what the link was there.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the name they're saying at the end in their ritual.
Yeah, but we get the little clues. We see the pentagram necklace on one of the the female casting director pretty early, and like Sarah actually says, "Oh, I love your necklace." And it's like, yeah, you're gonna love it. And then the producer guy has it sort of branded on the back of his hand. Would you say? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all that, just the fucking grossness of going to, a mansion in the hills to meet a producer, and you're a young woman by yourself trying to like get work, and this is the result, the dude just putting his fucking hand between your legs. And so it's just,
I want to right, and I got to separate our sections of what worked, what didn't, like talking about all this stuff. We're just discussing the Satan worshiping side. That all worked for me in a very, very broad sense.
Agreed.
Like the specifics of the scenes.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Right. No, I agree.
When we're just talking setting and themes, that was technically there.
Yep. Totally. Yeah. So the real life horror that is the casting couch.
Yeah.
And the way that they got there, and the way that she lets him get to that point, her just eager desperation in the room of like, yes, I know I can do this for you. I'm perfect for this role. I'm so glad that I'm here right now. All of that leading up to him, then like sort of the other shoe dropping of like, yes, you are great for this, as long as you let me have sex with you, is just... It's so disgustingly nauseating and horrifying to me to watch it, because it's like, yeah, that's...
Yeah, I felt...
A tale as old as Hollywood.
Right. I don't know, yeah, I felt gross too when all that was happening, but yeah, when she finally goes through with
and
it.
I rooted for her so hard when she was like, no, let me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll save that for the other section again.
What else? Okay, so now we're into where things really get going.
Yeah.
Because, of course, she makes the decision to go back. Oh, one little moment before before she really makes her turn that I fucking love is when she's standing up on the balcony talking to her roommate, and the two girls and the two guys are down swimming in the pool, and the girls are like in their bikinis jumping up and down and getting pictures taken of them, and she's talking to her roommate, and then you hear kind of like a slap and a fall, and she looks down, and one of the two dingbat kind of girls has like slipped and smashed her nose open on the concrete, and they cut back to Sarah, and she gives just this amazing little like giggle.
Yeah, and then the person that she's talking to looks at her like, what the hell?
Jesus, what the fuck's your problem?
Tim, I don't know. That may be in my top 5 laugh moments in our whole show here.
Dude.
Of everything we've watched. That was so funny. I forgot about that.
That's the thing, that there's this little nuance to her fucking characterization. And it's mostly little moments like that. Like these little like giggles or sort of like weird, unsettling sort of like noises or like expressions.
I mean, that specifically, it's just representative of where she's at in this journey of thinking of it as a competition or not. She's taking glee at this other actor's misery.
It's a reversal of the same thing. It's us taking joy in seeing the people who have been dickheads to us get a little comeuppance. Right. And so there's this...
Well, for sure, but it's hard for her because she's like... She's just been that victim herself in the worst sense. So there is something kind of horrifying to see, like, when someone just goes through something and then they get glee at essentially seeing someone to go through the same thing and be physically pained. It just makes her feel like she's the bad guy all of a sudden.
Right.
And that's what
it is through. The sort of, I don't remember who in the psychology, people of yore, why apostrophe or, it may be Jung, I don't know, that talks about the shadow self. And it's this sort of like, it's the bottom of like, almost like a totem pole of like, at the very bottom is your shadow self. And then there's like other things in the middle. And then the top is like self-actualization or altruism. And like that moment is her sort of, to me, is this feeding the shadow self. Right. She just got whipped, and now she's taking that pain out and on this other person and feeling joy. It's like not resisting. It's the ignoring of empathy.
And I got to specify what was so funny about it was then her friend's reaction to her laughing.
Yeah,
like,
because
looking at her like, what?
Yeah, because part of us is on board with her, and you need that other voice to be like, hang on. Yes, but no.
Are you serious?
Like, it's still not okay.
Okay, so speaking
love
of
it.
shadow self and self-actualization, I feel like I can just talk the rest of the film in terms of that different direction of her decay and negative transformation and eventual rebirth into her, maybe as you put it, shadow self incarnate.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
So we start with, towards the beginning, her first audition, when we see, which was, and this was cool, things that worked. Like, what worked for me was that first audition that was giving you a seizure, where lights are flashing.
Oh, so that's the callback.
Right, that's the callback.
Right.
But the first time stuff gets weird.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have these couple frame glimpses of something's transformed with her, like whether it's sharp teeth or kind of a monster face or something.
Blood on her chin kind of thing happening.
And then, like you said, her kind of arcing back and her neck and vein popping out and just her sort of very animalistic screaming and writhing. Well, that was sort of that first, it felt like that was the first sort of domino fall in a bigger sense, maybe.
Yeah, and I think, you can kind of make the argument, although I would personally love to have this conversation another time, of like people often look at sexuality and release and sort of like the pleasure in sexuality as a negative. And I feel like that's kind of being exploited in this moment where, in order for her to let go,
she looks at the release of sexuality and negative.
I think puritanical Western civilization has
that up.
Has pushed that narrative for a long time. Mm-hmm. I personally disagree with it, but be that as it may, it still exists in our sort of, lexicon, I guess, of how stories are told.
Like, a woman can't show her sexuality without it meaning that she wants to be sexual. Yeah.
Right. Or it's somehow negative to be sexualized. So when she's doing that and she's sort of moaning and even later remember there's that before she's sort of on the path to decaying but hasn't quite really started there. She just seems sick.
As you're saying it,
and
feels
she's like lifting her shirt and shit, and they're all like,
sort of the horror within, I think, in a lot of ways, is that, like, I see it as like a positive thing that she's, getting in touch with this real side of her, but it's the context of it being exploited and for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that
it's
mixture.
The framing of it is really cool. And there's sort of this ambiguousness as to like in the moment when they're at the canal and she's ill and they're all kind of recognizing that, but then suddenly she just stands up and starts picking her shirt up. The douchiest dude of them is trying to like take pictures of her and they're like, yo, stop, like she's fucking sick. And he's like, yeah, I like sexy, slutty, sick Sarah. And he's like, I'm going to take pictures of it. And it's just that grossness of the exploitation of this thing, right? Like,
right, and the only difference is he's not wearing a suit compared to the people auditioning her.
Yeah, but it's the pervasiveness of that toxic masculinity and
the use of camera in that context too.
Yeah. So all that stuff is just the themes and the sort of like the ideas and to a degree the execution are just strong in my mind.
And then we escalate to, it's a twofold thing of her body getting worse, which I guess, and then her psychology driving her to be a murderer.
Right.
So the body horror, Tim, we should start with that.
I love it. The hair coming out is great.
The hair coming out.
It made me reference fucking X-Day.
Oh, yeah. Shout out X-Day hair extensions.
Yep.
One of our earlier films. Tim, I mean, you guys should have seen, who are listening, should have seen Tim when her fingernails are coming out or about to come out.
I was like, oh no, here they come.
The fingernails! my arms! Oh my god!
It's true though, right? Eyeballs, teeth, fingernails,
Hair for you,
and
right?
hair are like the ones. They're the ones. Like I can see a lot of other stuff, but those ones just get me.
Yeah.
And I like it, but I also am like, oh no.
So you know what gets me, and that was my favorite part in all the body horror, was when she vomits maggots.
Fuck, dude, that is
Like a full kind of like hearty
Brutal.
handful and a half of them.
yeah. Yeah, it actually looked like if I were to throw up the bowl of ramen I just ate, that it would be that much, but maggots.
Have you ever seen someone or yourself thrown up after like chow mein or spaghetti?
No.
Well,
I don't want to.
I just got that visual.
Yeah. That's what I imagine it would be like.
And then, I mean...
But then she like plays with it. Like she picks one up, or she like pulls it out of her mouth or
one
something.
that she feels wriggling around in there.
Oh, I love
That was like, I mean,
it.
that was great, but just something about that initial burst of maggots just like shooting out and landing.
Oh, and right before that, she lifts her shirt up, right? Or maybe, yeah, I think she lifts her shirt up. And you see something under her skin like moving. It looks like a little snaky sort
That
of
was cool.
thing. I love that.
And so sort of concurrently with all this body horror happening to her, she seems kind of, I guess this is, well, yeah, is her, I was going to say is her on a psychological level getting mixed up. And so it's like she kind of is weirdly accepting of it all. Like she's not too horrified of, like, you know, as you said, when she pulls out that last worm, she's not grossed out at that point.
But there's a moment that tips the scale.
Where she turns?
Yeah, because she takes a phone call, or she calls them and she's like, I'm dying. I'm fucking dying. And the response is, you know, what did you think that there wouldn't be, you know, pain with this?
Oh yeah, which talk about just good themes. I mean, that's my favorite. Is like,
and from that moment on, that's when and they say something that's, I mean, I can't remember how specific the wording is, or if it's kind of just vague, but it seems like the suggestion is now you have to go like kind of actualize this.
Well, it's a good exploration of that idea of, like, you ever heard that quote when it comes to writing or creativity where it's like, once the pain of not doing something is greater than the pain of doing it is when you do it.
Yeah. Right.
So just, yeah, I mean, that's always a favorite metaphor of mine, and to see it distilled into this, it makes it
real quick before, the makeup work on her eyes and nose and mouth leading up to that point is quite fucking good.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
her nose being kind of just, I don't know what you even call it. It's like almost just brute. It's like way beyond having a cold.
She looks,
you know?
kind of dead.
Yeah, I was impressed with the level of makeup.
Well, and then I was impressed with the special effects makeup, because when she goes on her murder spree, we had some good, memorable gore moments there. Yeah. Was it a brick or no?
Weight. It was like a barbell. Or a dumbbell.
The dumbbell. It's very gruesomely shows that her beating her hand.
The first one, the moment you kind of feel coming, but the execution actually, they did the smart thing, which I think they set up what you expect to happen and they follow through, but they follow through just a little left of center. I mean, almost literally with the first kill, where when she takes the swipe at the shitty girl, the first shitty girl, and you know she's swiped around neck, face.
Oh yeah,
height,
that was great. Yeah.
You think that she's slit her throat, because we've seen that a lot and we know it's coming and it's sort of right where you think it would happen. Right. But in actuality, she slices her face.
It's her lower cheek.
Yeah, it's like just above the jaw, I guess.
Like the beard line, yeah.
Yeah. And man, what a good fucking thing this to take the injury to the face of the person who's competing with you in a world that is based so much around how you look.
It was specific enough of an injury point, it felt real.
Yeah.
This is good.
And it was well executed. Like the prosthetic and the blood pumping out of it was really nicely seamed. Like, it's good. Okay,
so then she goes on this whole rampage as a zombie girl thing, and we know she's getting close to her total deterioration.
Dude, that caving of the head in on the girl on the bed.
Yeah.
Fuck. And I think that's actually, I didn't realize it at the time, but it's kind of a continuation, because that's the girl who smashes her face on the concrete.
Yeah.
The girl whose face she smashes with a barbell or dumbbell.
Well, it's
kind of like you're getting the
it's kind
the
of
same
fun
injury.
too. There's something, I mean, this is horrible. That's what we're doing here again, is like the fun of seeing this friend group and one among them and them all reacting to this member among them all of a sudden turning and killing them.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Just all that was played well and satisfying, I thought.
And then, of course, the dickbag who's been taking pictures of her and just being generally a loser around her, she just stabs in the back.
Ha ha ha!
Repeatedly.
Stabbed in the back.
So good. And he's like, ah!
Okay. So now I just want to, I guess, get to the ending here. Because this all then escalates to a rebirth from the dirt, which I loved all this. Of like, she's hairless, which was honestly...
Now, how did she get there? Oh, the robed people after she kills the final guy.
They're all hanging out. They just watching.
Show up, and I thought to myself, well, that makes sense. They've been watching her. They're going to follow up, and they're going to clean up after her.
Pretty invested.
That's fine. I sort of added my own
So
logic to it.
That was kind of funny how it's like she already has this condition where she pulls out her hair and then she, I think unrelatedly, loses all her hair. Well, anyway, she's this reborn. I guess the sort of the suggestion is it's like she's born again as sort of a plastic person, as sort of what she sees when she idolizes her old favorite actors.
Totally.
She only sees it in sort of this physical sense. So she becomes an embodiment of that with the sparkling green eyes, smooth
long
skin,
fingernails.
and then what I loved the touch after literally coming out of the dirt is she's left a present that has the sort of accessories work to make her literally, if she's now a living doll, here's her accessories to be dolled up with her wig and what else was it? A few things
the
like
dress,
that.
the wig. Was there? Oh, the necklace. I think that's it.
Right.
But that's a really good way of putting it. I hadn't really thought of it like exactly like that. But it is really like it's the inappropriate self-actualization. They are by going down this sort of shadow path, if you will, whatever, she accepts the sort of the dark side version of what she wants, the deal with the devil kind of thing. That the self-actualization that she gets out of that is just all of the facade aspects of what you think is going to make you successful.
Yeah.
Beauty, no lines, like wrinkles, the perfect hair, the perfect dress, the perfect body. Those things are all so fucking superficial. They have nothing to do with like actual talent. So I love that that's the pinnacle of this version of bad self-actualization.
Right. I mean,
I just think it's
I think I liked that when I look at it isolated in itself, but as a kind of ending, I'm not as crazy about.
That's fine.
I think it was, well, I'll get into it.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Can we move on to what did not work?
Is there anything else that I really liked? Oh, the music. I fucking love the music. It's
what I'd say is a now classic, idea of doing the throwback synth score.
Yeah, but the light, the kind of almost like a toy box kind of theme that's in there at times, especially when she's like at Big Taters.
Oh yeah, that's really effective to kind of tie in her sort of what you imagine when she's a kid wanting to be an actor.
Yes.
And sort of looking up to actors, this sort of, Hollywood, fame and fortune.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Next section.
Totally.
All right. What did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
Okay, so unfortunately, in a lot of ways, all of the things that work are cased in a bad package. It's just not executed in it. The execution does not match the sort of the depth of the story, I think.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bunch of reasons why that is.
Do you think it has to do with it being two male filmmakers?
I think that could certainly lend itself to it. I think budget is clearly,
I'm all for men filmmakers casting women their leads, but when it's a story like this, I almost would have rather had it be a male lead in a way.
That'd be interesting.
Or I guess
like,
what I should really say is I would have rather had, I guess, more of a female influence in the voice, because I think a lot of things were I don't know. You're just putting me off on an initial tangent. I didn't think I was going to go on, but like, I didn't think it'd start here, but like, something about the distillation of the ideas felt kind of one note, I guess.
I think it's
or simplistic.
It's one-dimensional in a way.
Like, sort of, okay, we know the casting couch thing is bad, and that's it, you know?
Yeah, so Satan.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't, I don't know, it didn't feel like it explored it in a sort of more nuanced way. Like, again, I said I liked all the ideas were there, but, well, okay, and I mean, that connects to what also, it didn't...
Fuck, dude, you know what this movie is? In a way, this is Suspiria. It's not, but it is in a certain way, where like in broad strokes, it's very similar. And the new Suspiria in particular of where that goes in its art direction and execution of these themes is what I wanted this movie to do, but it's just not. Also, it's not on the same level.
I wanted what Black Swan did.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Well, to kind of get away from where we were going in that direction, we'll probably go back there. There was, I'll bring this up a lot, where there's kind of competing sort of styles or things for me going on in it. Whereas for me, like it had this very sort of like I hate ragging on movies because they are low budget and you can see it kind of thing. But I think it did hurt it in the sense the low budget worked for this in the realism of the what we talked about to lend an impact to the gore moments at the end.
Yes.
But I think what was more important to this film is the sort of, and it felt like where they started to push but didn't fully go, was the satire angle of like the casting of all the bad guys. Like, remember the casting director guy and the woman and then the main producer guy. Mm-hmm. Like, they all felt like they were from a movie, like I said, Society or Cronenberg,
right,
where you want a sort of more deliberate style of filmmaking that's not just the sort of the run and gun, quote unquote, realistic kind of, you know, that brings that sort of verite to it. I wanted something that felt, it needed a heavier hand for me in the filmmaking.
Yeah.
In order to sort of make that not feel just kind of misplaced and weird as far as the casting and some of the dialogue and character choices in that sense. Like the big taters. Well, that's not it, was it? I keep.
Yeah, that's it.
It is Big Taters.
Yeah,
like that in itself, just as a spoof of Hooters. Like it makes you. You know, that felt like out of, I just watched the new Rocko's Modern Life. You know, it felt like that kind of just blatant satire of our society, but yet it also had this grounded style to it. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, you're right. It's, if you're gonna do that, you can do that in this movie. You can have both in this movie.
Yeah,
but you need to, in a way, I almost think you need to know when you're anchored to the sort of the indie filmmaker aesthetic and the heightened reality aesthetic.
Like, you can still have the realism with that heightened reality, but maybe it's just really specifically the aesthetic of like the shaky cam, or I don't know what it is, or just how it looked visually just felt like low budget, like the camera or how the lighting or something like that.
There aren't a lot of lens changes in this in this film, so that's part of it.
Like, as I put it, it didn't quite earn the Roman numerals in the opening title. You know, where that makes you feel like you want something like House of the Devil. Like, you know, that felt like that filmmaker. It felt like, oh, this kind of earns that, you know, that 70s feel of it being kind of, you're in the reality of it. This is a legit real movie. I don't know. It's very broad terms, but
almost feels like it's shot on like mini DV or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite a film camera aesthetic.
Yeah.
You're not getting long lenses with like a a lot of shallow depth of field, or and things that kind of that we inadvertently just associate with cinema look. Mm-hmm. And one other thing is if they actually purposefully lit things with actual like a grip package and like had a gaffer and a DP like actually lighting the scenes.
We were looking at that credits list. They had a good amount.
They had them, but everything seemed like it was lit practically.
Yeah.
And so that's cool, but it seemed middling to me.
Yeah.
Like, you can, if you're limited and you need to light everything practically, there's a couple shots where I was like, oh, this looks cool because of the limitation. Like,
right.
When the friend who lives in the van, there's a couple shots of him in the van, and there's one practical lamp next to him in the van, and because of the space and the framing looking through the door of the van, the way that's framed and shot is quite pleasing. Yeah. And it feels good. It feels specific, and it feels art directed.
Yeah.
But that's throughout the rest of the movie, there's not a ton of that.
It just, I feel like I've said this before.
Maybe in the mansion a little bit.
This has been like, I guess something I've said for other films too, what we're getting at, but to sort of try to put it in not purely aesthetic terms, it feels like there's just a bit too like light of a touch in sort of the filmmaker's perspective, mm-hmm. like on the person who's the evil producer bad guy. Like that just makes it feel so it's a little, I don't know. I feel like I'm repeating myself now, which I am, of just the not lending itself to the not taking full advantage of the cat. Like,
yeah. Well, and there's kind of repeated things that seem almost like filler. Like, we see her writhe around in her bed, which is a very stock sort of looking shot with a pretty vague gray wash of light in it. It's not, there's no style to it. It's kind of just there she is in the bed writhing around.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you're going to go back to that, like something in a horror film, like something more should be happening. Like the contrast should be like way fucking up, or something, or like a streak of light should be coming through, like breaking the frame up. Something stylistic should be happening. And it just kind of was just a shot of a person in a bed.
Yeah.
And so there's this vagueness, I guess, to it in a lot of scenes. Even the stuff that's lit cool in the mansion when she's having this sort of casting couch thing, it all just seemed very standard, like everything's fairly well lit. It's just kind of like, there's a few lamps and then we've got our coverage, and it's just a little middling to me.
For a movie that's all about this Hollywood demon cult, I wanted a whole lot more from that whole idea. It felt like maybe it was that it didn't feel like it showed anything different or new or interesting, but just like it just felt like it never delivered on what this core premise was for me.
Yeah,
like Satan worship, like Hollywood Satan worshippers, taking advantage of women, blah blah blah.
Like the dudes in the masks and the hoods. I just was sort of like,
I don't know. Okay. Is it? It's hard because I want to say it's like I wanted you can have less, which this was, but still have there be more. So I'm trying to compare this to like how Hereditary did it, where there's this whole like cult aspect and you feel like there's a whole richness to it, or that there's a lot to sort of glean on your own. But this just sort of felt like, oh, it's just kind of nothing to pick up on.
But here's a perfect example of that. Like the nothing to pick up on. Remember in The Black Cat, it's a very short scene, but it is the scene where all of the affluent people show up and they are the sort of Satan worshippers in the dungeon.
Yeah.
And there's about maybe 45 seconds of us just getting these canted fucking like super wide close-ups at different angles of those people before they kind of put their hoods on. And we get to feel the fucked upness of them as people getting into this ritual thing. This one just had old people dressed up walking in a line up a path. We see them kind of in one shot, and then they're in a circle around the pentagram, and they're holding these like LED lights. It's so lame.
Yeah.
Get candles for God, like something that's at least a little cooler. They're like little fucking dashboard lights.
You can see them say like,
shit.
wait, put it on the blinking setting. That will be way cooler.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are they gonna fucking pull out glow sticks and have a rave? It's lame.
Yeah.
Like,
I agreed.
Your budget, like, you can burn shit. Mm-hmm. With no budget.
I wonder if they wrote it for candles, but like it was too tricky to execute, or
like
Griffith
they couldn't
Park
get
didn't allow them to do it.
Exactly. So fuck it. Do something totally different.
Right, exactly. Let that inspire something totally different. Yeah.
It's like it'd be like if you were like, hey, we're gonna do a fucking cool Star Wars movie. Here's a flashlight. It's your lightsaber. It's like, no. You need an actual thing.
Or just find a different. You could. You could just mess with the perspective, like show us less, like have it all be from her perspective.
Dude,
and it's just
that shot of her in the grave in the fucking like plastic is awesome.
Yeah.
But why isn't the rest of what's happening around her in that same sort of like fucked up weird vibe? And that disconnect is so weird to me.
Exactly. I wanted to be going exactly what you just said, more like, what the hell's going on? Oh my God. But I just never kind of got that until her rebirth.
In the grave with her, showing her like in this plastic bag writhing around, get the camera, not really matching, but get the fucking camera up in those motherfuckers' faces.
Even just like throughout the whole film, like what didn't deliver me with the Satan stuff, I'm trying to think about it, is like all the bad guys that we have. It's like, okay, yeah, the actors, they look like bad guy character actors, but I never like felt scared of them. They never sort of had this threatening feel to them. Except for unless there's anything to say on that, except for, when she finally does succumb to his sexual advantages and decides to go that route for whatever she wants. And we both said, yeah, that made us feel gross, but I don't think that felt earned like at all.
You know what I would have liked to have seen? Instead of the moment where she calls the casting director and says, like, I'm dying, and the guy's like, Sarah, there are consequences. He's got this very weird manner of speech. It's like over-enunciating thing that he's doing. I would rather her actually physically get to him, and they have like an interaction where he's pulling her apart, or like pulling the teeth out of her mouth, or like proving the point that you have to. He's making her go through this thing and like saying this is what it fucking takes, and to have that physicalized is way more powerful.
So to connect it to what I was just kind of saying, do you think that could have worked in lieu of her actually then going and giving him head? Like,
I think.
You didn't respond to what I'm curious what you think of what I just said when I was like, that just didn't feel earned to me at all when she finally does that. You know what I mean? It felt gross, but it felt like it's all at the same time. It just kind of felt like, okay. I don't know.
Yeah. If we're gonna, I think we should have seen something more. Mm-hmm. In Irreversible.
Like, I thought, no, I haven't seen it.
Oh, my God. You must. But
it's
some of the most upsetting shit.
I thought the scene was going to continue, like, okay, this is where it starts. Now the weird Satan stuff is going to happen. And then it just didn't.
Like Midsommar. Mm-hmm. The fucking sex scene. Like, you could have gone into something in that realm.
Right, when the woman's pushing him from behind.
If she agrees to do the act, the like whatever the sex act is, if she agrees to that, let's see the outward sort of like fucked upness of this group that is promoting that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Midsommar had all these weird supporting details of the specificity of their cult. This was just like, okay, she's doing it and I feel gross, and then the scene's over. Okay.
Yeah, because If you have that, then she's got people to go back to. And oh man, you know what would have been fucking even cooler is if when she's having sex with the guy finally, you don't have to show almost anything, but you can show his slimy fucking body, right? And you can show just pieces of skin like pressing against each other, and you can show the look on her face in a fucking close-up, like all of that. And then if you're also showing these people who show up in robes or whatever, but then they're like gesticulating around whatever they're doing, something to just make it feel gross and whatever, but she can see their faces. I think that would actually add this sort of like, ugh.
Well, and I mean, it also didn't feel like the natural progression of this sort of, when we have that, like when I talked about that scene that worked for me, the very first one of when she's at the callback, when we see her like demon self coming through, like visually, physically, and her going to this crazy place. Like, what about all that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah. It makes me think there's almost it's almost in the wrong order. Like, in a way, shouldn't she actualize, become the, like, demon person, and then kill all her friends?
What I'm saying is that it would have been cool and then to see, oh, wow, if this is the starting place, then where's it going to go?
Right.
But then it just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's just it just didn't quite land.
Well, so talking about how there was never the payoff or the whole demon, the whole cult side of things. God, which just sounds so cool, Hollywood demon cult, and it just wasn't there for me. But also, what didn't feel like a natural progression and just was really out of left field, it was cool in itself, the murder rampage, but yeah, what was that all about?
It seemed, it's weird. It's out of place.
Yeah, that's not, okay, talking about promise of the premise, I'm like, okay, like, I don't know, she wasn't even like commanded to kill them all. It was just sort of like, she did it because she was fully reached the jealous point, I guess, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
I would like kind of what I was saying before. If we've established this horrible sex sort of the extent of the cult around the sex scene, let's say, and we're connecting to, it can still be the casting directors, the woman or the guy, right? Not the producer who she ends up sleeping with, but the two creepers.
Yeah, yeah.
If she's connected to them or whatever, and then when she's falling apart physically and she goes back to one of them and they give her another choice. They say, "Oh, if this is too much for you, we can snap our fingers and make it go away." Or and then they can show her what she'll be getting if she follows through. And that's great. So we now really, really kind of get a sense of like watching her say, okay, I want to not be in pain anymore, but I can not be in pain and have success, or I can not be in pain and go back to my old life.
Right.
And we don't get that kind of moment of which will she choose.
Yeah. She had that.
And if she says, well, I want the success version, the woman could say, that's fine, but here's what you have to do here's the last thing you actually have to do in order. We needed a little more of a push.
Or giving her interesting choices versus just sort of like, I guess I'll keep going along.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, give her conflict.
Well, and to go off of how it seemed like there was almost a little hesitation when you were trying to say, show her the possibility of what she wants, and then you said success is the word you landed on.
Sort of, yeah.
Because this is, when we talked about where it ended with her being the Barbie doll with the wig, that is muddled for me. Like, you can kind of do both, but like, okay, yeah, you said she was after success, but then based on the ending, it felt more like supposed to be like, I know this was a cool movie, Neon Demon, where it's like they're kind of different. Those are kind of different stories almost. Is she going after this sort of unattainable physical Barbie perfection thing that she, how she misviews what it means to be a star, or is she going for fame? Because like the whole movie, I thought it was about being famous.
I think it's almost where it needs to be, but never quite hits it, in that
like have her be not
mistaken.
Right. Like have her be not typically attractive like this actor or something, and then make the story about just be fame. I don't know. Or
well, no,
I'm just trying to say
agree.
Pick a lane. I don't know.
Yes, exactly. I think I like kind of the idea that she's misguided in what she thinks success is, and she got her version of success, which is actually just to look a certain way. There's nothing to suggest that she then becomes a actual successful actress. Maybe we're supposed to just,
right. And where's the indication of that? I thought it'd end, but it would be, she's going to be famous.
It'd be really fucked up if it was just like you got what you wanted, and she's like, yeah, but when do we start shooting the movie?
Right.
And they're like,
I kept wanting to say that.
It's for.
I kept wanting to say that snidely to you the whole movie. It's like, oh, I hope she got her start date now.
Right. So the misplaced aspect of that, I think is a cool idea, but it never pays off.
Yeah.
We're just supposed to be like, okay, cool. She looks like a 30s or 40s movie star, and therefore, it's not quite enough.
Yeah, and again, like that, those are two different. They're overlapping. They're both there in the sort of Hollywood success thing, but there's this sort of idea of a physical perfection,
right?
And stardom they're different things,
right.
Which.
Maybe to your point earlier about like men directing this, it sort of feels like there's where like a crack in the larger, point of view of who the characters or what the characters believe in.
Right.
It's a little too one-dimensional.
Maybe that's their just the pre-Me Too side of things coming through.
Could be.
Where it's like, okay, maybe it's not so it's I want to put less blame on that because it's like they're doing as much as I'll not say as much as they can if I'm also ragging on it, but it's like just to show it at all, was something then, especially where now it's like even then we were like, duh, this is happening, but just to sort of point to it, maybe that's a sort of more what this movie was doing. But when it's just so rich with ideas and themes to explore, and it just didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But wait, you still officially gave it a buy it, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I really like her performance.
Yeah. That's reason enough to own something. I'm just clarifying because I don't think you ever said buy it,
Yeah, it's like an asterisk buy. Right. Like I said, if it was a cheap Blu-ray.
No, I've done that plenty. We're allowed. Anything else before things of note? I have a handful of stuff for it, actually.
Yeah, I've got some things to know. You will probably have half the same things. No. I mean, yeah, we covered everything.
I mean, I'm sure there's more, but this was enough. This is all I had down.
There was something when we were watching it that I thought to myself, remember to like rag on this, and I don't remember. Oh, it was a cobweb continuity. It's a lame one. It's just cigarette continuity.
Do you really want to go there? Okay, then we won't.
You know what it is. A cigarette should just stay.
Are you going to go there or not?
Fuck. No.
Okay, because we can.
No.
If you want. Okay. All right. Things of note.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
I thought it's been fun to kind of we did this before, where I find polls. I don't like to let other reviewers necessarily or reviews inform what I think, but I think they're interesting talking points. So that's why I didn't want to put this under what didn't work or whatever. But I wanted to hear what you thought of these. So this is what I was kind of getting at with I'll just read it. This is from The Dissolve. Mike D'Angelo said, All great horror movies, and most crappy horror movies for that matter, are fundamentally symbolic. Usually, it isn't terribly hard to work out what real-world elements lurk underneath the booga-booga, but conscious recognition won't necessarily blunt the film's power. What will blunt the film's power is preceding the symbolic spookiness with a literal presentation of whatever is being symbolized, meaning the casting couch aspect. How she actually goes through with it and we see it. It's like the comparison he says is like in Eraserhead, it would be as if we saw Henry like having an actual baby and then at the end has the weird baby, you know?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
I think there's some that's not the specific reason I think I was getting at why it wasn't more, but I think it's an aspect of it for sure.
Yes.
Like when I said, like, why do we need to see it?
It's almost two different movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie about the like exaggerated stuff. Like it's not a casting couch Sundance drama, you know?
This movie is just as valid if you eliminate the satanic cult stuff.
Right.
If it's just an exploration of how living in a world where things like the casting couch and shitty friends and like the unraveling of your fucking like psyche because of that shit, and it leads you down this path of thinking you're falling apart and you know, having a physical manifestation of your psychological unraveling, and that leads you to killing all your friends minus all of the cult shit.
Yeah.
That movie still actually would be fun. It would actually make almost a little more sense.
Or I think the flip of maybe what you're getting at is then make the satanic movie and cut all the casting couch stuff out.
Exactly.
That's what this reviewer is saying.
Exactly. So I think both could work. Yeah, they're kind of mixing. They're not mixing a metaphor, but they're. Yeah, I don't know what you would call that, but yeah. The literal and the metaphor are overlapping each other.
Okay.
Right.
And so
that's interesting.
And so, yeah, maybe, you know, things that sounds a little more what didn't work, but still things of note just to see what you think about it. I think this was a female reviewer on Letterboxd saying she writes first in quotes. I think she's coming from the angle, like I was saying, it's too simplistic, like a reading and telling of these ideas. Mm-hmm. She says in quotes, Actually, let me explain to you how hard it is to be a woman in the movie industry. Ladies, be extra bitchy to each other and strip down to your underwear. Quote, 2 dudes. You know, and she says, honestly, cut out all the dialogue and you've got a solid 4-star movie. Mute it and put Goblin on the stereo or something. Which is kind of like what Neon Demon was.
Kinda.
But do you think there's something to that? We kind of touched on it,
but
to explore it more.
Neon Demon actually, in a way, is what I just described without the satanic cult shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that movie is. It's watching people unravel because of the fucked upness of that industry.
But still from a surreal,
right.
To putting it to a surreal extent.
Yeah, which I think is totally fine.
Yeah.
It's got fucking style, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. But do you think there's, I mean, I don't know, I thought there was something to pick apart about as far as her saying if it is too simplistic a reading in that sense.
I think you can make that argument that like they are being fairly reductive of their depiction of women.
Yeah. But again, do you think that is perfectly appropriate for 2014 or should it have been more?
2014.
We confirmed. We think there were Ubers then.
So long ago, 5 whole years. I was wildly overweight.
We were looking forward to watching the new Louis.
Oh my god. Oh no. Weird. There
were no new Star Wars movies yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's right. She's making the point in a way that is the reason the Me Too movement happened, right? this is the last sort of breaths of people, buying into a pre-Me Too world and not really getting it, not digging a little deeper to like actually look at the implication of these things.
Where it's almost, are you kind of saying where it's almost, it's a given that this is the world versus...
Is it a given that this is? You mean that the directors
like as if
felt of it as a given?
Yeah, or I don't know what
I think what I'm saying is their one-dimensional take on this is representative of a time before we were honed in on how women actually felt.
Right. Yeah.
And now we're more fucking. We've gotten to hear those voices, and it makes us actually take a minute to go, hang on, is this accurate? Is this valid? Or am I just falling into old tropes that are implicitly misogynistic?
Yeah. Okay, to keep it going, when you said earlier when we were talking, I thought it was interesting where you said how like the word actor here in LA, it's like a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I like to counter that, I always think...
Man, you haven't been to the parties I've been to.
No, I have. But my response to that is, I don't know, I love actors. I think it's cool. It's like, whatever.
But you're a nice person.
Well, here's my question for you. Do you believe that everyone can be an actor?
Not everyone, no. I think almost anybody can be coached into a good performance.
That's my question.
Yeah.
The Soderbergh approach.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched people who are
so in reference
consistently in their own way,
right?
And can't get out of that. So be coached well, and then suddenly give a performance where you're like, you did not think that person was capable.
So kind of in reference to this movie, when she finally gives over to her honest side, like what is happening when that non-actor reaches that similar success point?
What is happening to who?
That non-actor. Like, what is that turn?
For them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think lots of the time it's super fucking scary and it makes them go, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time...
But what happens when it gives them, when they give over finally? Like, what's that
Well,
turn?
Unfortunately, in my experience of watching that kind of thing happen, it's one time is not enough.
Yeah.
We all fall back into our safe habits and our what's the thing? Your neuroses and the things that make you hold too tightly.
Your point of non-growth.
Yeah.
Your place of non-growth.
We're all gonna do that. Good actors, in my experience, are the ones that are willing to let go of that thing.
Yeah.
And most people are not willing to let go. You can get like one good performance in a moment out of them, and by and large, they won't come to class the next time.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting I think of these sort of themes and ideas in reference to looking... Okay, how do I start saying this? But this hypothetical future, if now this movie is playing on ideas of we are living in a culture of scarcity versus an ideal eventuality of a culture of plenty, in terms of 1 out of every however many 100 actors are going to find, quote, unquote, success kind of thing, where she says, I'm one of the people who's going to make it, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think, like, Will, do you see acting being different in the culture of plenty? Like, I'm just wondering if you agree with me at all, like, where I could see a hypothetical future where everyone who ever has wanted to act can find a place to act, where, and when it doesn't become about how famous and do I have to be, I really feel like, and then also when that sort of applies to filmmakers and maybe, sort of what we've seen as far as what technology has allowed, where there can also be a lot more filmmakers and theater directors, whatever. And then once we sort of, I don't know, change our culture to sort of like, oh no, it's okay. We almost have, villages in a sense to entertain, where we have sort of clusters and groupings, because like we all know there's nothing better than live music, right? You know, and or going to a screening where they're there talking to you, right? Well, I don't know. I'm wondering if you agree with the optimist in me, where it's like someday this story will be an impossibility.
There are, I think, a large number of variables that will prevent that from coming to fruition. Could. If YouTube has taught us anything, it's something very simple. Your appeal is not your appeal in one sort of niche does not imply crossover to a larger scale. The YouTube stars or influencers or whatever, the Jake Pauls of the world, and there's lots of other people who've made a huge following on these sort of little funny, sketchy, joke videos, whatever that may be. Those are they have value. I'm not shitting on them at all. But YouTube tried to parlay that into wider audience feature film storytelling. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work. Those YouTubers aren't good at that other medium.
I think, yeah.
So the translation doesn't work in that way. So that's one lesson that we've learned.
But you can also see in there how there's always, it's kind of the idea of the 1,000 true fans, where I think anyone who's like an artist or creator in a certain sense, like as specific as their voice can be super specific, but they'll find this many people not in their field who relate to it or enjoy it kind of thing. And therefore, if we can actually find a way for them to find each other, and therefore there will be enough actors when that's the case.
But I think it's a matter of cultivating the I guess I'll use the word talent, but that's not what I mean. The craft. Mm-hmm. Whatever the craft is, two things need to happen. One is the artist needs to cultivate the craft, and the other is the audience needs to demand the craft, like the engagement with the craft. Mm-hmm. And so in the, like you're saying, in the model of musicians, the audience wants that particular craft.
Right. But so you see, but when I'm saying if it's the culture of plenty mindset where there's room for all of us to succeed kind of thing, then I think people they won't put the pressure on themselves too much that actually is self-defeating in what they need to do to grow.
Sure.
Because then
that'd be nice.
Then they actually will get in the practice of making those first films or acting blah, 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 or playing their instrument every day, whatever it is.
Yes. Absolutely. If we lived in a culture that did not discourage your pursuit of the craft
by putting so much on your success,
or by diminishing it one way or the other, saying that it's such a pipe dream it can't happen, or that it's too hard, or that it's not valid as a career path. All of those things are wrong thinking, in my opinion. Like, let people go after what they want. But it's an interesting question, because at the end of the day, just because somebody has let's say the 10,000 hours sort of rule of Malcolm Gladwell, that you become an expert after about 10,000 hours of working on a thing. Just because you've spent the 10,000 hours doesn't mean that where you've arrived is what people will want.
Mm-hmm.
That's... Yeah.
But I don't know. I
don't know. I mean, it's a really interesting...
More like philosophically, esoterically, I guess, though, I really believe that if we weren't in this competitive mindset as a whole, then there is sort of a natural balance. Like, we see that in nature, But when you're swimming upstream against that, it ain't when you're looking at it as a purely competition. And I think what made me think of all this and why I saw this applicable and things of note is because as acting seems like probably the biggest profession where it feels like it's and a horror movie can exploit it well as far as that competitiveness of the idea of only one in however many 100,000 or 1,000 of you are going to quote unquote find success in a traditional sense.
Well, and also because it's boiled down to it's you and it's not your skill at a tangible thing. It's you as an entity in and of itself.
Anyway, I could talk about that for a whole podcast, but I just wanted to bring it up as food for thought.
I mean, kind of in a way to wrap back around to the movie, part of what you're saying, the movie, as a thing of note, got largely funded, maybe not totally funded, but largely funded through Kickstarter. So what they're presenting, people were, the demand factor in all of what we're talking about is still a factor.
Yeah.
So it was, there was a demand enough for it to raise enough money to at least get Pat Healy attracted to it.
Because they got across those themes that, again, you liked. And
so not everybody is going to be able to hone in and present a thing that has demand. I think that's just true in the world.
I think I guess I kind of disagree in an optimistic sense, right? I think a large part of it that I haven't mentioned too, except briefly, is I think we're going to be able to connect what people are looking for and who's delivering it more streamlined versus just like whoever is the one who somehow gets noticeable in the mainstream is the one who then finds their fans, so to speak.
Let's say all presentation is accessible and that all eyes can see all things being presented. Let's just say hypothetically. Every person who relates to every individual thing will have access to it and can engage in it. But there's always still going to be a debate among the viewers or the consumers as to the merit or the how much they like the thing. That debate's always going to exist.
Right. I mean, how much they like it, sure.
And that will determine, I think, largely the continuation of it. So it's almost inherently competitive.
A mindset of scarcity, you also have a mindset of distrust until you sort of, let's say, have it's an influencer or a friend tell you, hey, you should listen to this artist. Like when you see, it could be your new favorite band, but because they have like no followers, you just gloss over them when looking at whatever. And that's because we don't trust it on its own, But I'm
saying in a world where that the trust factor is eliminated, there's still going to be an inherent conversation about how much or how little somebody likes the thing.
Right, but
and then that becomes how the thing is then framed, and then so there's almost like an inherent.
But as long as but you say how
value judgment on everything.
But I mean, all that is aside, I guess my point of saying within how much someone will love that, you'll have the people who love it plenty, even if it's just X amount of people.
Yeah, but humans are dicks. There's always people who are going to be like, nah.
Right, but that doesn't matter. I'm not talking about getting, not everyone has to like everyone. I agree. But that's not a determinant for success in a sort of, I think, maybe a new mode that we should define it as.
Yeah. Okay, that's a fucking head turner.
That's what I just said. We could keep talking about that. We kind of touched on this, but I thought it was really interesting how the stuff of her admiring the starlets on her wall, like these old, and how from her vantage point and like the ending of the film where she has green eyes, it seems like she's just focused on this sort of this like physical star quality that's unrealistic. Yet what I thought was interesting is how what made all those old actors or any actor like that famous or succeed is because of authenticity. In a certain sense, is because they offered their authenticity on the screen. So that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this movie got a lot of fucking
What else do you got
praise.
Trivia-wise or anything? I have a few.
I mean, just the award stuff. I mean, I agree with this one. Excellence in poster design at South by Southwest.
Did you look at what the 20 things we learned from the commentary film school rejects article.
No, where's that?
So here are my two. I think I just pulled two
it.
that I liked. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sarah's initial. This is quote. Sarah's initial audition for The Cult was shot in Brian Udovich's production office, who I guess made the film The Whackness from 2008, which used to belong to Howard Hughes. The famous story about him peeing in all the bottles and locking himself in his office literally happened right above this office where the audition scenes were.
Awesome. I mean,
that's why I'm wondering if you were there, then you got to, that's why I said at the beginning, if you actually did an audition there, then you went to Howard Hughes's pee office.
I'll have to double look if I've actually ever been in that building. I think I have.
Oh, and then for us, and if you along with us have seen or possession or listened to our episode, they said Sarah's violent audition at 16 minutes. Sarah's violent audition, the one that we talked about, was strongly inspired by Zawalski's Possession, and specifically the scene with Isabel in the subway. They said, we watched that film as an inspiration for how raw an actor's performance can truly get if you just kind of push them.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And then did you know that her pulling her hair is an actual disorder?
Yeah, it's called Tryptomania.
Trichotillomania. TTM.
Yep.
Hair loss. A brief positive feeling may occur as hair is removed.
Yep.
Now, this is what shocked me, though. It's estimated to affect 1 to 4% of people. That seems like a lot.
It's a self-soothing. It's like a lot of these little things like that are fairly common.
It just seemed really common to me.
Yeah.
And the last thing I had, Tim, looks like we'll be seeing Alex Esso, however you say her name, the lead in this.
Yeah, I don't know.
As, I think a bit part, but in the new Dr. Sleep movie as a sequel to The Shining, she's playing Wendy Torrance.
Far out.
And as we know, if you saw the trailer for that...
Wendy is...
It's Shelley Duvall. So she's playing Shelley Duvall because we saw that it is a sequel to the actual movie because it takes actual imagery from the films.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wendy lives.
Yeah, but I looked in the
Interesting.
No, but I think it's like what we got from the trailer. It's going to be sort of in flashback or whatnot,
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, if she's playing... Yeah, I would have to.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall's not actually going to be in it, is she?
I don't think so. If they are...
That'd be cool if she was.
Yeah. All right, you got anything else?
No. But Alex, if you want to hang out, she would be awesome in a couple ideas I have. She's good, man.
Is that your thing of note?
That's my thing of note. Call me.
Okay, well, let's do our recommendations. Wrap up Starry Eyes.
Go ahead.
Well, because I mentioned it earlier, I guess mine's going to be the new Rocko's Modern Life mini movie on Netflix. Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling. That's what it was called.
I don't even know what Rocko's Modern Life is. This is
a
cartoon, right?
Yeah, this is our age difference coming into play. You should watch it.
Should I?
Yes. Because this is my recommend. I mean...
Okay, I will.
No, Tim, first you got to watch I Saw the Devil.
Shit. Someday.
But Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling, guys, it was so good. It was better than it had any right to be. It was... It had, I don't know, it is the best of what I remember the show being as a kid, but even better as far as the satire, seeing it applied to modern day. It was done so well, still in the spirit of the original show. I don't know, it was just so smart. And even did a lot to kind of inspire the kind of the sort of millennial stereotype of or I don't want to say even for millennial, but kind of I just relate it to it because he knows he's making it for our generation, but he encourages change and doing things difficult in life. And I say he as the creator, but I don't know. It was surprisingly inspirational, and it's sorry, this is kind of long, but it was okay. It's a really unique opportunity for a creator to have his fans of his show grow up and then have something he wants to say to them and then executing it in a really successful way. So
that's cool.
Check it out. Rocko's Modern Life Static Clean, available now on Netflix.
So I fucked up because I thought the name of the movie that I was gonna recommend dead was Afflicted, but I'm looking at that and it's not the movie, although I have seen Afflicted, and the reason I'm confusing these two is because they have sort of a very similar thing going on, which is also sort of a similar thing to Starry Eyes, which is somebody kind of falling apart, like body horror shit. It's just the story is that the girl, instead of all of the Hollywood shit and the Satan stuff, she gets blackout and gets date raped at a party in the opening scene, and then the rest of the movie is her like decaying in all this very similar body horror type shit. Yes, Contracted. After some research, we found it. It's called Contracted. It's so similar in so many sort of like the tone and the sort of the body horror shit. It's cool. So that's mine because I quite enjoyed that, and I think that they're really fun to put up against each other and kind of. I'm not sure which. I'd have to watch Contracted again now that we've seen Starry Eyes and sort of really say like because it's been a while since I saw Contracted. It's from 2013 though, so it's a year before Starry Eyes. So that's mine.
You think I'd like it more than Starry Eyes?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Hard to say.
One last thing I wanted to say about Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling was that it was a reboot about reboots. It did a really interesting meta thing, which I think some really good reboots do. Anyways, can I pick what next week's film is, Tim?
Is it your turn?
Yeah.
You should do it. Oh my god. Oh my god, what is it? Oh my god, what is it?
The Beyond from 1981.
Yes! I'm excited for this. I remember, I think I put this in there.
Yeah.
Because I read some, is it a French? The Beyond.
Anyway, you could find us at dismemberinghorror.com if you haven't already. Well, check out all our old episodes.
You should do it. You know what you should do? You should look at all of our episodes and then pick one that is a movie that you fucking haven't seen and you're excited to see, and then watch the movie and then listen to the episode. Duh.
That's the true intention of this podcast.
Get into it.
Have fun. If you're, what this podcast started from, if you're like a horror movie fan with no one to talk to about horror movies, because it's fun to do that after you watch a horror movie, you can sit down and, talk, so to speak.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Think about it.
And then
pick it
actually
apart.
Talk to us.
Yeah, exactly. We are here.
Come on, guys. I need more friends than just Ryan.
We're all yours, people. And you can also find us at our Twitter and it's at DisHorrorPod, and our Instagram,
Dismembering Horror.
Yeah, and our Gmail is dismemberinghorror@gmail.com.
Sure
Write us there. Recommend us a movie.
Sure is.
Let us know something you want us to watch. We'll put it in our hat.
Oh, I wanted to shout out to our Instagram friend. The Instagram site is Horror Junkie with an IE. I don't know if that was not clear. So Horror Junkie 103178. And check it out, dude. Their Instagram
that's
is awesome.
10/31/78. That's Halloween. That's the
significance.
significance.
Yeah, I get it. But they post some really good stuff.
Yeah, we've talked to him. He's really active on there.
You're
cool.
Assuming it's a him?
I'm
not gonna make that assumption.
No, he told me his name once.
Oh, okay.
Like on our first chat.
Oh, good. Hey.
Pretty sure. We made a few. I was talking to a few people in there, but cool. Good shout out, Horror Junkie.
Yeah.
10/31/78. No, he does a lot of like cool.
What an idiot I am.
Just like, here's a neat way to sort of, here are all the new releases on Shudder, or here's like, for Alfred Hitchcock, here's, a whole thing on common household objects being used as murder weapons.
Yeah.
But always really detailed posts I appreciate.
Me too.
All right. Well, in the meantime...
Just promoting other people.
All right. Well...
It's all one big family.
The horror
one big
family.
horror family sitting around a table.
What's the hashtag for that?
Hashtag eating the person who drove in to use the phone.
Perfect. In closing, thanks for listening.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye.